This is the 46 of 46 podcast October sessions, where we'll talk all things spooky Adirondacks and more. From Bigfoot encounters on the NPT to ghostly sightings in the trees. We'll dive deep into the heart of these mountains and the people who dare to climb them. From Adirondack Bigfoots to haunted lakeside bark huts. It's all here on the 46 of 46 October sessions. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the October sessions right here on the 46 of 46 podcast. I hope you enjoyed last week's Bigfoot in the Blue Line Volume 4. It was a fun episode, and I hope you guys enjoyed hearing a little history about Bigfoot right here in the Adirondack Park. Well, this week I have a guest from last year's October sessions back with me. They have a YouTube channel called Blue Line Bigfoot. This is Adam and Jake. They have experienced quite a few unexplainable things here in the park. They interview other people who have had some weird encounters themselves, and we're just going to talk all about spooky stuff from right here in the Adirondack Park. So Adam and Jake, welcome back to the 46 of 46 podcast.
Hey, James, thanks for having us back.
It's great to have you guys and, you know, some fellow content creators from the Adirondacks. I respect the game, and I appreciate what you guys do. And I just want to hear some great stories. And what have you guys been up to since last year? How's the YouTube channel going?
The YouTube channel is going great. You know, one of the things we've been focusing on more than other things with the channel is what we do. We focus a lot of attention on our Christmas special. Besides that, you know, me and Jake have gotten to be so busy with our businesses and trying to help people out around the area that, you know, we don't have as much time as we did when we were a little bit younger. We're taking things a little bit more serious these days, you know, so we don't have as much time to get out in the fields and have that fun, but we'd like to dedicate a lot of our time to make sure that everybody has a nice, enjoyable experience when it comes to the Christmas season, the holiday season. So we've been putting together these fun holiday specials and making sure that that's kind of like a focus of what we've been doing. We got a really fun one planned for this year. It's going to be great. Last year's was quite the hit. The year before that was quite a hit too. So yeah, you know, we're having some fun with it still. We're still doing what we do. We're still the BLB, Blue Line Bigfoot, you know, Adam and Jake doing stuff with our cameraman Nolan and whatnot. Just having a good time. That's what
it's all about. That's what we want out of content, it to be fun and enjoyable. So take me through some recent weird stories that you guys have heard about. I know you have some stories for me, so let's just pick one and let's let it rip. Let's let it rip.
Okay. Now, yeah, I know Jake has some stuff to talk about. I'm going to get things rolling with something that happened in 1998. So this isn't recent, but it did happen.
All
here
right.
In the Adirondack.
Hit me.
And okay, so I don't know if anybody or you or anybody out there listening has ever heard of what's called the Mandela effect. You familiar with that?
I have not. No. Hit me with some info.
So the Mandela effect is essentially a phenomenon. Lots of people in the world remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison, right? It's a memory that people have vividly. They saw it on the news. They remember him dying in prison. And then years later, all of a sudden, the reality of it is, in this reality anyway, is that he didn't actually die in prison. He was, you know, he did a bunch of stuff after he was out of jail and blah, 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 doing just fine. Another thing like that is, do you ever remember a childhood book with a bunch of bears? It was like a cartoon childhood book with bears in it.
I remember the Berenstain Bears.
Okay, and you remember it being spelled with an A-I-N?
Yes. I mean, I have like 1,000 of them. I have 3 daughters. I have like 1,000 of them. Yes, I know it very well.
Okay, so that's part of the Mandela effect. When I was a kid growing up, same as Jake, same as a lot of my friends, we remember it being spelled E-I-N, Berenstain Bears, not Berenstain Bears. And there's a big population of people, you know, around our age, you know, 47 like myself, that remember it being E-I-N like that. And then nowadays, all of a sudden you go and you can't find a single book, a publication anywhere that has it spelled E-I-N. They're all A-I-N, where everyone else vividly remembers it being spelled the opposite way. Anyway, that's what the Mandela effect is. It's like a shift in reality somehow. And other people remember it this way, and then they remember it that way. There's a multitude of them all over the place. It's this thing.
But 98.
Yeah, 1998. I have a theory I came up with this theory about the Mandela effect, that it's not only it happens with minor things too in the world, things that aren't so significant, such as, accounts with public figures like Nelson Mandela, or books that are worldwide like the Berenstain Bears, however you want to remember it, or other things.
Star Wars movies.
Lots of different references.
Any.
Yeah. It can happen with way minor things that are just maybe personal in your own life, or things that might not be popular, or things that might not be mainstream.
Like a pair of work boots.
Something like that. Anyway, this is the story. True story, too. This real true story, freaky thing that happened to me. 1998, I'm working at this local ski center here at Gore Mountain, and I have a new girlfriend, and I'm really happy with this girl. I really want to make her, impress her, take her out, do some fun things with her. I talked to my boss up at the mountain. I'm like, hey, Tony, I want to take my girl out to dinner. What do you think I should do? I wasn't really experienced with any of this stuff, and taking girls out to dinner and anything like that. I was just a young kid. He said, well, there's this place down in Lake George where, I go there. I take my wife there. Really, really good food. Really authentic Italian food. You got to go there, blah, blah, blah. He goes, you won't be disappointed. It'll be a great experience. I'm like, okay, I'll take you up on that advice. So we go down to Lake George, one evening in the wintertime, and we're in there having dinner. And they seat us along the window side, the part along the restaurant that's along the main drag of down in Lake George. And there is a drop ceiling, the white drop ceilings that people have a lot of times. And it has a big water stain in it, just in the table right behind us. And it's dripping water into this bucket right behind us. And it was a little embarrassing. I mean, this was supposed to be a nice, fancy restaurant. It wasn't cheap. And we have this bucket dripping right behind us. And I was a young kid, and I didn't know that I should have just said, hey, can we have that seat over there? We just sat where they sat us at the time. These days, I would have either left or said, give me a different seat, So anyway, we're sitting there together, big water stain on the ceiling, drip, 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 the whole entire dinner. We both remember it really well, me and my girl. 2 years later, we go back down to the restaurant. We're like, hey, do you want to try that place out again? The food was awesome. Let's try it again. So we go down again. And on the way down, we're talking about the experience we first had together down there, where she's like, remember that, the water and everything? I was like, yeah, it was crazy, the whole thing. And it was just this thing we were kind of laughing about. So we go in, and they seat us kind of near there, but in a little slightly diagonal spot from our original seating. And we're both looking, and all the ceiling now is this V-joint, pine stained with a cherry type of stain, wood. It's all wood now. There's no more drop ceiling. And I'm like, the waitress comes up, and I'm like, oh, hey, when did you fix the ceiling, huh? And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, you fixed the ceiling. It used to be the drop ceiling in there. She's like, no, I don't think so. I'm like, yeah. I remember my girlfriend, we're both going, yeah, the drop ceiling. And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, this is a little weird. And then one of the other waiters that came by, I got his attention. I'm like, hey, listen, we both remember the drop ceiling in here with the leak here. There was a leak in the roof, and it was dripping right there. And he was like, no, that was never like that. This has always been the ceiling in this place. And we're both like, no, there was a drop ceiling, big water stain, dripping right behind us, right there, that seat right there. He said, my dad owns this place. I've been working here since I was 18 years old. This guy's 40-something. He's like, this has always been the ceiling in here. Kid, leave me alone. It wasn't like that, ever. Trust me. This is my dad's place. And we both looked at each other. Me and my girl both looked at each other, and we were kind of like, I was a little bit aggravated. I thought these people were lying to me or something. But they weren't. They were telling the truth. And then you look at the ceiling. I actually took more attention. I looked at the ceiling a little closer, and you could tell it wasn't new. It wasn't a new ceiling. Mm-hmm. was older wood. It wasn't reclaimed wood. It was older. And I got looking at it, and it really freaked both of us out. We were like, what the heck is going on? And so like years and years and years later, I discovered this phenomenon called the Mandela effect. I don't think anything about it until one day, I realized that experience happened. I said, well, the Mandela effect happened, I think, to us in our real life, but on something that was so minor that didn't get any attention anywhere. And we both remember it being one thing when now it's a different thing. Very, very strange, unexplainable. No idea what really happened, but it happened to both of us. We both have the memory of it perfectly.
I feel like I could picture that, seeing that as like a scene in a movie. The both of you are just wondering, like, wait, what's going on? And the camera pulls away, and you're both looking around, and the restaurant people are still walking as if it's no big deal, and you two are just in the middle of the room. I feel like that would be the shot in your movie before they cut to commercial, of course.
Yeah, no, you got it. You nailed it. That's what it was. It was, I'm actually getting goosebumps right now thinking about it because it was so weird, but.
I can relate to the Berenstain Bears thing too, because, so my kids are young, and 9, 4, and 1. So within the last few years, we've had tons of Berenstain Bears books, and my wife and I absolutely had the conversation of, did you know it's spelled with an A? Neither of us realized that or knew, or this is exactly what the case is. We've been lied to. So that when you said that story, I was like, yeah, we've had this exact same conversation.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going on over there at Berenstain Bears Incorporated? Great books, though. Fantastic books.
No, they had a cartoon, too. The cartoons were good, too. I mean, everything about that was just a wholesome, really fun childhood thing. All the kids loved it. It was the best time of reading session when we were kids. Yep. The librarian got the books, and how old were we when that was, like 7 years old, 5, 6, 7 years old when we were into that stuff. And I'll never forget it. It was awesome. And it was the Berenstain Bears.
And we went back to our librarian and asked her. And that's the thing. That's the weird thing about it. You would think someone who'd read this thing thousands of times to hundreds of kids, we thought that she was going to be on the same page as us. Turns out she wasn't. It was,
She remembers it the other way.
That's the thing.
That's the thing about this Mandela effect. Some people remember one thing.
Huh.
Yeah. They remember one thing differently than others. Not everybody. This happens to. Very bizarre. Some people
that librarian is clearly like a government robot. She is not one of us here on this planet.
Be alive, bro. No, she is so sincere and such a nice lady. That's what makes it so weird. Because,
I bet.
That's
I get it. It's quite the phenomena. Speaking of phenomena, where are we at with Bigfoot? Have you heard any new Bigfoot stories since we last spoke last year?
Well, a lot of the information, Bigfoot stories that we have been kind of like privy to since last year are things that haven't really happened in the park. They've been from other parts of the country.
Okay.
Some stuff that's happened in Ohio. And
Ohio is a hotbed that people don't realize. I mean, I listen to the Sasquatch Chronicles podcast religiously, and it's crazy. I feel like 50% of the episodes are from the state of Ohio, which you would never think until you do a little research and realize that just like it's seemingly a hotbed for Bigfoot encounters.
It is. And my sister, her husband's family is from the Cincinnati type area, but they're out a little bit in the country. Crazy stuff's happening there. And then my other sister just moved from Scottsdale, Arizona up to outside of Branson, Missouri, which is near the Mark Twain Forest. And there's a ton of Bigfoot stuff out there too. So it's crazy. Yeah. So some Bigfoot stuff. Yeah. But I really would much rather talk about the ADK.
Sure. I mean, before we'll get to the ADK, but now as a Bigfoot guy, I have to hear I have to hear the stories real quick. We'll venture out of the park for just a couple quick Bigfoot stories, and then we'll bring it right back into the Adirondacks.
Well, they just moved to Missouri, and they're having something. They live up on top of a hill, basically on a mountain. There's a lot of Palisades there. all over the place with the lakes that kind of go around the whole, kind of like the Ozark. I don't know. That's how the lakes are there. They're just in and out, a lot of shoreline, not a lot of big open water, but lots of water, lots of shoreline. And they overlook this. I don't know what lake it is. But anyway, they're up there in the woods, no neighbors, and they're hearing things bipedal walking through the woods. When the kids are hearing them, the husband's hearing them, and there's something out in the woods, but then they sit there and they listen, and as soon as they really listen, there's nothing there. And then then it'll start walking around again, and then, they'll be talking, and they'll hear it walking again, and then they'll stop and listen, and nothing there. And then they go out, and this is in the middle of the daytime, nighttime, all sorts of different times of day. And they've been having this really strange thing happening lately where they have, like, hundreds and hundreds of crows come land right at their property, all around their property, and just start going insane. And it's like, I don't know what that's all about. I don't know if that has anything to do with the Bigfoot thing. But to me, I think it kind of might be related, but I'm not exactly sure. But that's kind of happening the same thing. That's what's happening there. And then, the Ohio thing, I mean, that's like the same thing that's been happening for a long time there with the other part of my family, where they see, eyewitness accounts of strange, dark-figured things from a distance across the creek, standing there, motionless, not doing anything, just standing there and looking, and looking at them, not doing anything. And it's nuts, because that's kind of like one of the ladies on our YouTube, our first season, Barb Hotez, she kind of said the same exact thing. She's like, this thing was just standing there, looking at me, just standing there. It wasn't doing anything, just looking at me. And that's exactly kind of the encounters that are happening to my other part of the family in Ohio.
Her dog alerted her. Sorry, Bo was the one. She never would have known. The dog alerted her, went to the back door, and So,
yeah. So that's what's those are kind of the two things that are going on. Both with the different parts of my family like that.
Yeah, you it looks like you guys just kind of attract this sense of oddness here on the planet.
Well, it's weird that you kind of say that, because I mean, me and Jake have had. We were talking the other day when we were kind of figuring out what we were going to talk about on your show. Like we listened to last year's show to make sure we didn't repeat anything. And me and Jake were just kind of hanging out. Like, what are we going to talk about? And we just we got talking about some things, and we're like, we could sit here, and if we wanted to get in depth and talk in like some detail about experiences that we've had, we could talk for at least all day about stuff, at least a day, and probably roll into the next day about stuff. But we probably have to have the stuff written down so we didn't leave anything out. But
between us and
between both of us
and hearsay and stuff that we've heard, geez Louise.
Crazy.
Yeah, no, that's what we're here for. Let's talk. All right, let's get back into the ADK. Finally, guys, we're back inside the blue line. All of you listeners, it's okay. We're back in the blue line now.
Okay, so
we made it.
So let's jump in a time machine and go back to the year 1982.
All right.
And year after, I grew up in Baker's Mills in Dogtown, like I said, last year in episode 119 of the 46 of 46 podcast. But we moved up to North River on 13th Lake Road in this house, right? And okay, so so there were some things about this house. There were some innocuous things, weird things like lights turning on, doors being open,
poltergeist type activity, Jake?
Yeah, well, some kind of so like that. But then there's some being locked in a room for a while in different rooms, and you can say, that's just you'll have that in those old types of houses, especially the ones that have the skeleton keys, which is what we were living in, and something happened back there in that magical year of 1982 when I was 11 or 12 years old, turning then. And at the time, there was a part of the early spring almost summer, but kind of late spring, summer, where the hot water tank kind of crapped the bed, and we used to have to put a pot of hot water on the stove and heat it up and get it in there and kind of mix it in and take your sponge bath in the clawfoot tub. Anyway.
Adirondack life.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
Well, see, that's what made it weird, because at the time, I'm sitting there, I'm trying to take care of business, washing, and what happened was water started gushing out of the tub, and I didn't turn any levers on or anything, and there's just a so I'm a 12-year-old child, and I jump out of the tub, I run to the door, I'm yanking on the door's not opening, it's locked, and so there had been similar incidences after the fact in the turkey room, which we call the cold room upstairs. But anyway, so this I'm shaking like a leaf on a tree too. Like it was about maybe 30, 45 seconds. I'm screaming. My mom's yelling on the other side of the door. My two brothers too. They're all carrying on. Like, what's going on? And then the water just plane shuts out, and no one says anything. Poltergeist activity, like Adam says. Mm-hmm. Windows opening, closing without anyone, with a clear lock and latch on them, So nothing, nobody being pushed down a flight of stairs or anything crazy, but a lot of weird stuff like that. And it happened, when we're young kids. So it's kind of like through time here. What is it that attracts?
Sounds like you grew up in a house that you'd see in like a scary movie here in the Adirondacks.
Yeah.
That's so now, did you guys, that's absolutely bone chilling. The idea of windows being open that were locked just stresses me out. Did you guys talk about this at your house, or was it kind of like a taboo thing to acknowledge? Did it happen, but it was like, let's not talk about it? Or did you talk about it? Like, what was the overall kind of feeling? I mean, you grew up in a house like that. Like that's very, very next level.
The funny thing, it was on our way to church, on a Wednesday night prayer meeting, and, coming down from a room, we had just turned the light off and the light was on. And that was the thing. Like we were all in the room, turned the light out. We all left, the four of us. We walked downstairs. We walked out to the car. We got in the car to go to church. And as my mom is like, she looks back up, and, that room, that light that we just left, we just turned the light off, light was on again. But it was like the Nile's not just a river in Africa, because we just didn't, I guess we just accepted it and didn't really say anything about it. Because, when we're like, another, like my brother saying like he saw a ghost by the fuel barrel in the back of the trailer when we were growing up. It was like, oh, okay, but I don't know, that kind of being able to see a ghost, or being able to be sometimes people having dreams or being clairvoyant. Nowadays on the interwebs, everybody's an empath and can see and do a whole bunch of things. But up here in the Adirondacks, like you have found out how tight-lipped people are, they're not blabbering about their clairvoyancy. No,
definitely not. Now, was there a point in your childhood where that stuff went away, or did you guys move? You still own the house? How did the story end, or has it not ended?
No, we're still in real time living.
Mm-hmm.
Although they moved, they don't live there anymore.
No,
but we're still living it. That story in particular, he's talking about, right? Do you know anything about that house? Are the people that are living there still living it? Are they the Bukovinsky's?
Yeah. And they've had the same. Oh, I'm sorry. We are jumping timelines here. They've had the same locked door experiences and poltergeist type doors, and
Oof, that's tough. That is tough. Now you said that was in what was the town you said that was in again?
That was up in North River.
North River. I got it. Yeah.
The town of Johnsburg that we live in has seven different hamlets, in like a 12, 15, 20-mile radius.
Yeah.
And
that's Warren County, right? North River?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s, there was a little bit of a satanic panic, too, there's it wasn't not too long after that serial killer Garrow was in like the late 70s, and like it was the early 80s. There was some big scare about they're worried about devil worshippers, and they supposedly found some graves down in a little hamlet called Sodom, if you're not
okay.
But it turns out it was like a pet cemetery, somebody buried their dog, and it was a kind of version of telephone. It got blown out of proportion, and then all of a sudden there's devil worshippers in Sodom, but no, it's someone buried their beagle, and it just got But I remember my mother and other people at church were like all scared, and we couldn't go out of the house. It's like we were grounded, but they were just afraid of what might be going bump in the night.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say that phrase. It's like that people are worried about what goes bump in the night, and I can't blame them, especially at that point. That's pre-internet. That's when like rumors really were rumors, and if you were in the know, it's like, okay, let's not go out. Fascinating. So.
You ready for another one?
Yes. So now you mentioned to me one story that even frightens you, Adam. So unless you're building to that story, we can build to it.
Oh, that was I want to go out with that one.
Yeah.
Because that one's really freaky. It's got like some parody in it. It's pretty cool.
Sure.
But one that I have that's more, I think, lighthearted, but still very, very, very spooky and weird.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a painting contractor. I was hired by a friend of mine who's a general contractor to come in and work on a place down in Lake George. This is again down in Lake George. This is up. It's still in the park, definitely. And it's a really old house. This place is like it's a huge building. It's just a big rectangle from looking at it from out the driveway and around like that. This thing is probably close to 100 feet long and about 60 feet wide. It's enormous. It's an enormous building. And it's got all these rooms in it. It's got a great room in it downstairs, and it's got all these different weird parts in it and everything. To paint the picture just a little bit. I'm not doing a good job, but it's a big building. And like a third of it's partitioned off with like 2 kitchens, a bathroom downstairs, bathroom upstairs, half bath about halfway through the thing. A couple different bedrooms, a laundry room upstairs, stuff like that. And kind of like the other part, upstairs is just all bedrooms down a narrow hallway. And below that is this big, huge, great room, big, huge open room with a game room and all this other stuff going on down there. Anyway, I was contracted to paint upstairs in the kind of like where they have the laundry room and the bathrooms and things like that to refinish some of this stuff up in there. And so I was there. The contractor told me where the key was. I said, okay, I'm going to go down to the paint store. I'm going to get all the materials, and I'm going to bring them there that day. I'm going to get everything kind of staged out, get the materials where they need to be, organize some things, set some stuff up, and that's going to be basically the rest of my afternoon kind of get things ready. So when I go back there to work, everything's kind of rocking and rolling. I have everything ready to go. And so first thing I do, I go there, with all my paint. I open up the door, get that going, take a box of paint or whatever. These paint boxes come with 4 gallons in them. They can be quite heavy. And I take like a paint box and I walk up. It's like a flight and a half of stairs that go up, kind of wrap around thing. And I get up and I go over to find out where one of the rooms is that I need to paint, and set the paint down. And I'm looking around to try to find a light switch, and really can't find it. I'm flicking light switches, but nothing's really happening. And then I noticed this one light switch. I flick the light switch on, and the light way down at the end of the hall comes on. But the light where I need it to at this end is the sconce that's there isn't lighting up. So I'm like, okay, this will be fine. I don't care. I'll just I'll kind of just throw this stuff here and not have very good lighting. I'll just get it done and leave, and I'll try to figure it out next time I'm there. And go back down and get another load of stuff, bring it back up, and I drop it down, and I'm just like, I have to make like 8 trips out of my truck, and it's getting darker and darker in the afternoon, and I'm like, I just want to find a bulb or something to put in this thing and try to get it fixed so I can have some light here, because it's really dark and I don't want to trip on anything. And so I look in the sconce, and inside the sconce is it's one of these yellow flame bulbs that are like twisted glass. They kind of have a curly Q twist on them, and they're yellow glass, and they have a small end on them, a small screw-in end, not your typical light bulb size. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, screw this. I'm not going to waste my time trying to find these light bulbs here. I'm not going to find anything to fit into this thing. I'm just going to go back down to the truck, eat it up, and take a bunch of trips, and it's going to be getting darker. If I need to, I'll put my headlamp on, because I always have a headlamp in the truck. So I go back down, and I grab another case of paint, which has, this time it was a case of paint, and then I had 2 gallons on top of it. So with all that paint there, it's kind of heavy. And I'm working my way. I go inside. I'm working my way up the stairs, the first flight of stairs, and and my head's kind of down, looking at the steps, so I can kind of like make sure I don't spill anything. And all of a sudden, bam! Right in my face, on the side wall of the stairwell, this little door was there. It's about 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet square door that was hinged there. It was opened up, so I couldn't move up the stairs anymore because the door was opened up in the stairway. So I couldn't keep walking up the stairs. I had to kind of back down a little bit, put my shoulder on the door a little bit, and kind of nudge it over so it got out of my way so I could walk up the stairs the rest of the way with this bunch of paint. I did that. I set it down, and I came back down, and I'm like looking at this door that I didn't notice before. I'd never saw it because it was part of the wall. It was cut into the wall. It didn't have trim around it or anything. It just kind of blended in with the rest of the bead joint or beadboard that was on the wall. And there was no handle on it or anything either. It was like a hidden door. I don't know that's just what it was. Yeah. And I'm like looking at this thing, and it's kind of cracked open a little bit too, because when I nudged it shut, it didn't shut all the way. And I'm just scratching my head thinking, what the heck? How did that thing open? How did it open? I was just kind of like, maybe there's like, I don't know. I just like, what the heck's going on? Because it blocked my way to walk up the stairs, completely 100% blocked it. So I'm a little bit freaked out, but not tons. I'm just like, I don't know. So I go, well, I'm going to see what's in there. So I, with some trepidation, I grab the side of the door that's open a little bit, and I start opening it up, and I look in there, and it's just this dark little cubby. And in that cubby is a cardboard box sitting there. Like it looked kind of like a, 12 by 12 cardboard box, maybe about 8 or 10 inches deep. And I couldn't see what was in it. I grabbed it and slid it out, and I look into this cardboard box, and in that cardboard box is a huge assortment of all the light bulbs for the whole house. There's LED bulbs, there's floodlight bulbs, there's the little ones that I needed for the sconce, there's different shaped ones for the chandeliers downstairs. This is where they keep all their backup bulbs for everything in the place, in this little box. And I'm like freaking out. I'm like, holy shnikes, like there's something here, but it's like trying to help me out. Whatever entity is here, they're trying to help me out. They know I have a predicament here. And so I grab the bulb, And I walked upstairs, and I twisted it into the sconce, and boom, now my whole work area is lit up. And I'm like, thank you. I go downstairs, and I'm just like happy, but I'm scared at the same time. So I go back down, get everything back up, put everything back up in there, blah, blah, blah. Go home. Then I start working on the job. And the job, for the first several days of the job, I was able to work there during the day, and everything was kind of normal. But then I had another painting gig that was going on during the same time, and I'm trying to finish up 2 things. So I ended up being there kind of like later in the day, working on one job, going there later in the day, maybe for a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours, just so I'm always getting something done there. And I happened to be there after dark, lots of different nights. And I would get creeped out. I never heard anything or nothing. I was just getting creeped out. I was like, wow, I don't know. I just getting a weird feeling here. Nothing really happened. And then, I washed all my brushes in the downstairs half bath that was at the bottom of the stairs. And I remember this one time I washed the brushes, got that all done. And I start walking up the stairs and I hear, and I'm like, that sounds like that sink's on. And I go back downstairs and the sink is on full blast. Blasted into the porcelain bath sink. Mm-hmm. I shut the thing off, and I go back upstairs. Blah blah blah. Didn't happen again for like the longest time. And like the next day, I'm there doing stuff again by myself, and I walk back up after that, and I hear. And by the way, the light is off. The light is off in the half bath, and the faucet is off. I am halfway up the stairs. I hear the faucet. I look down. The light's on. The sink is running. I'm like, this is what I did, James. Mm-hmm. I went downstairs. I shut the stuff off. I went outside. I shut the door, and I left.
I would have done the same thing. I was like, nope, I'm out. I had enough.
No friggin' way. And I'm like, okay, because there was other contractors on the job. There was a guy that was fixing up some of the floors. There was some plumber guys there. There was some electrician guys there. There was some other people there that were working, but they were working during the daytime. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to go back there again. I'm going to make sure I go to the other job at night and make sure this is what I do in the daytime when people are there, because I'm not going there by myself. I'm too freaked out. This is weird.
Yeah, so I would have done the exact same thing.
Yeah. I go there during the day, and we're in there kind of just hanging out, and there's these 2 guys, the Bacon brothers, Larry and Gary Bacon. I'm sitting there talking with them one day, and I'm just like, dude, I got to tell you, I was like, I'm freaked out. Did anything weird ever happen to you guys here? They instantly look at me, and with their eyes are huge. They just start laughing. They're like, oh, my God, thank you for saying something. Like, this place is messed up. He goes, have you ever heard that sink downstairs come on? I'm like, yeah.
Jeez.
I definitely have. And then we start talking about other things that happen. And I'll wrap it up like this. We finished the job on time. Everybody on the crew had to stay there kind of late into the night because the homeowners are going to be there the next day. We had everything pretty much dialed in. A general contractor says, well, I'm going to go out to the local pizzeria. He got us a 12-pack of beer, nice big pizza, brought it back. We were just about done. We all sat on the porch. It was just getting dark. He's like, great job, guys. We had a couple beers, had some pizza. And it was nice. Go inside. I have all my painting stuff back in my truck. When we go in there all together, and we all shut the place down. Shut the kitchen light off, upstairs light, blah, blah, blah. Shut everything off. Everything done. Go back outside. Lock the door. Just dark. Sit on the porch. We're like, let's all have one more beer. So we're cracking a beer. And then Rob, the contractor, said, oh, well, shoot, I forgot my, he had like I don't know if it was a line level or a laser level or something that he forgot inside. He's like, I got to go get that. He goes inside, and then you just hear him go, whoa! And everybody's like, on the porch, like, what the heck? But we go in there because we didn't know what was happening, make sure he was okay and everything. And like, all the lights upstairs were on. The lights in the back kitchen were on. And all the lights in the side room were on. They were all on. And he's in there, and this guy has his own beliefs and everything. So I'm like, what's going on in here? He's like, I just have to turn these lights off. I go, well, how do you think they got on? He goes, well, I just probably forgot to turn them off. I said, Rob, we all just shut the place down. You know for a fact that all the lights in the whole place, we didn't leave a single light on. And by the way, it's just about dark, so we would have seen we didn't accidentally leave anything on. And that's basically the end of the story. The people wanted me to come back and work there and do some work in the great room.
Yeah.
And I just got way too busy all of a sudden.
Yeah, right. It's like, I wish I could. I'm just so busy right now. Let me give you someone else's name.
Just tripled. And
yeah,
right. But isn't that crazy? I mean,
yeah, it's wild. It's wild. It's unnerving is what it really is.
Oh, it's weird, and it's all real. But the weird thing about it, I think that whatever spirit's in there, it's not like a bad force. It's just somebody that wants attention. Because, I mean, why would they help me find the light bulbs? I mean, would I have ever found those light? If I could have looked, I could have wasted hours and hours in that house trying to find light bulbs, and there's no way I would have ever found them. No way.
Yeah, there's definitely a story there. There's definitely a story to be unfolded and to go back in time.
Yeah, there's pictures in the great room from when generations ago, black and whites, when they used to have like all the parasol type stuff and the big dresses and the Mississippi paddle boat type things out there, and they had all this stuff going on and with their family and a bunch of different pictures like that from back in that era. Is weird. I mean, it's the whole place has got a very old feel to it.
Sure.
So this is, don't know what it is.
Yeah, dude, I bet you. I mean, it'd be hard to know. It'd be hard to really ever get some information, but I feel like this sort of thing would be happening at all the great camps around the ADK. Like I just feel like there's no way that all these old camps that had so much stuff happen don't have this sort of activity as well. This park is old, man. It is old, and there is some history, and I suppose they say spirits have unfinished business. Sounds like that's the type of situation we find ourselves in here.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. It might be something as simple as who knows what that spirit is. Maybe it's like a teenager. Maybe it's a kid that passed away that's stuck there. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But it's all unnerving. It's all unnerving for sure.
I don't like it.
No.
I don't like being around it. I don't care how happy they are, how helpful they want to be.
Same.
I don't being around it. It freaks me out.
Yeah, I would fall into that same category. I got no time for that stuff. It's interesting to hear the stories. Certainly, I do not want to be involved in any of the stories, though. That's where I personally say I'm good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know.
I feel the same way about Bigfoot encounters in the woods. Now, would I like to have a Bigfoot encounter? I would love to have a classic roadside crossing in my car. Do I want to come face to face with one in the woods? Not a chance. Not a chance at all. Right. But the roadside crossing, yes, I'll take that. Sign me up for that.
Me too. I feel exactly the same way.
Yeah, it's a lot safer that way.
Yeah.
And I know you guys are, so we talked last year a lot about UFOs and that sort of thing. But like, what are your thoughts these days now that the government is trying to blind us here with sudden UFO talks? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, isn't that so weird?
Isn't it convenient?
We have $20 million aircraft with $180 photographic technology on board. I mean, I don't know what you want to say about the Tic Tac revelations. I don't know. I don't know. It's all convenient stuff. I try to stay away from anything related to a screen.
Sure. As you should.
I mean, things in this general area, I mean, there's lots. Me and Jake were just talking earlier tonight about, like, have we had any UFO things that happened, like, recently to us within the year? I really don't remember anything within the year, but I can certainly tell you some stories that have happened here in the Adirondacks, where I grew up, on the farm that I grew up, not too far from here, about a 10-minute drive from here. Just one fun story. So in the summertime, I was probably around 10, 12 years old. Come from a family of 6 kids, and we're on the porch on a summer night with my mom hanging out, and like my godmom and some other friends, and I think my cousins were up or something. When it was dark, it was nighttime, it just gotten dark. We're out there on the farm, chilling, listening to the crickets, having conversation, and just doing summertime things on a nice warm summer night. And out of nowhere, from the west, comes this light, big light, in a slow-moving, really steady way, without any sound. And so from the house that I grew up on the hill, it overlooks this pond. And you used to be able to see it really clearly when we were kids, before the timbers grew up and kind of blocked the view. But back in the day, this is probably about maybe like a 30, 40 acre pond. And we'd be able to just watch, people ice skating on it in the wintertime, see people boating on it in the summer and everything. And so this is back then when it was a clear view to the water. And this big light thing came out of nowhere and just kind of like slowed down and kind of like moved almost exactly over the middle, over top of the pond. And I would say the thing was probably maybe like 100 feet up off the water. And all of us kids, Mom was like, look, kids, a UFO, because she had seen tons of UFOs there our whole childhood. And there's other stories that I tell some other time about that. So she was no stranger to seeing UFOs on the property. Mm-hmm. But everybody was there together on the porch. And she said, oh, everybody, look, check it out. And this thing kind of stops over the water. And it's about, I would say, to the water from the house is about 500 yards. Let's say it's, no, maybe not even. Maybe like 400 yards. 400 yards. A nice, decent par 4 golf hole. 420. Let's call it 420. And so it's sitting there, no sound. And all of a sudden, a kind of like this light comes shooting out of it. And it's like almost like a cone-shaped light. It starts small up at the craft and it gets wider as it goes out to the water. It's not going down directly. It's going down at a slight angle down to the water. And just goes zoop, and it just like has this light going down to the water. And you can see this light. And then it looked like ripples of water going from the light beam up into this craft that we could see. We're watching it, and it looked like this water going. It's like something was traveling from the pond up into the craft. You could see it moving in that direction in a rippling kind of fashion. And Mom goes, "Oh, they must be just getting water." And so us kids just being, we were like, it was cool to us, but it wasn't like, oh, this isn't what normal. This is just kind of like what happens, we weren't like freaked out. Mom wasn't freaked out. She was like, oh, cool, check it out, guys.
That's a UFO.
Yeah, and so we're all just looking at it, like, oh, that's neat. And then it then all of a sudden the light just stopped, just shut off, and then the thing just kind of like in almost the same type of speed went right back where it came from, same direction, slowly, and then it just kind of got faster and faster, and just all of a sudden it was just. And took off in the distance. I don't remember it zipping away or anything. It just kind of like, slowly got out of there.
That is just wild. That is just wild. And it's so, her talking about it so nonchalantly too is also, as an adult now, it's just like, geez, what have you experienced? To be so, just like, oh, check this out about it. It's craziness.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how like everybody on the porch, there wasn't anybody jumping up and down saying, let's call 911 or anything. Uh-huh. Everybody was just kind of like, oh, cool, check it out. Just like they were like looking at a rainbow,
Sure.
It was something else.
Sounds like
it. Incidentally, the guy, like last year, the guy who had his own Bigfoot sighting right next to there, 59 years earlier or 50 years earlier when he was attending a birthday party, they all saw a similar, they didn't see it was a daytime incident, but the same kind of thing. They were celebrating a birthday party, 11 or 12 of them out there.
Just here wild.
This classic, this UFO kind of hovers in there, doesn't make any noise. And they all watch it come floating by, and they, it went over the meadow and did this and that and blah, blah, blah. And, and here, 50 some years later, this was the same guy who saw the orb with the spinning lights, and him and his wife drove out half a mile up to a clearing to watch it, on a winter night for 45 minutes just to pass the time like you do in the Adirondack. Going to the I mean, growing up in the 1970s, geez Louise, going to the dump and watching the bears was a Sunday night activity.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's just like Adirondack life. There's also a great scene in the movie The Great Outdoors where they're they're all just watching the bears eat the garbage. Fantastic stuff. They must have been inspired by a summer night in the ADK then, if that's where that scene came from.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was fun. I remember that vividly, all the different bears, and then And once I started really coming out, Mom and Dad be like, "Put the windows up, kids."
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, we're out of here. Yeah. And the fathers would be shooting the bull. And, once the 6-pack was gone, everyone would break up and get out of there.
That's Adirondack living right there.
Oh, definitely.
Very cool. Yeah. All right, so we got time for one more story. What's one more story you got for us? Any subject.
I have the one. Well, let me tell this one, Jake. Yeah. The North River one. So this is another one from North River. Back in the early 2000s, a friend of mine moved back. He was living away. I don't remember. I think he was down south. He moved down south. A kid that I went to high school with, who he lived in North River with his family in high school, and he moved down south, and then he moved back here for a little while. And he was like, "Hey, I'm going to be living back up at my parents' house up in North River, looking for a roommate. Be up there, someone to help pay the bills, blah, blah, blah. Are you interested?" I said, "Sure, that sounds good." So went up there, moved in with him, kind of started fixing the place up, cleaning everything up. And this is in the wintertime. And he was working on construction about, an hour away in a different town. And I was working at the ski center. And I would come home. And this is how it started. I would come home and, after work, sometimes it'd still be light out, and I'd be like vacuuming, or I'd be there at home by myself, either way, vacuuming the floor with this, push vacuum. And I would get this crazy feeling, really scary feeling. It was a gross kind of feeling that something was like breathing down my neck right behind me. And I didn't like it at all. I was like, I didn't like it. It was really bad. And I would shut the vacuum cleaner off, and I'd be like, huh. And I'd be like, okay, whatever. And I would go like bring something outside or bring wood in or do something for a little bit. And then I'd start vacuuming again. And as soon as I started vacuuming again, it would happen again. I'd be like, oh man, this is way too weird. And then, so I stopped vacuuming unless somebody was there. Then I would do it when we were having like a little bit of a party or a get together, or when my friend John was home or something. I wouldn't vacuum unless somebody else is there with me. And then, strange stuff started happening at this house where, like Jake was saying earlier, I come home. This is in wintertime. I come home from work, and I would look up to where the first room you could see in the gable end facing the driveway was where John's bedroom was. And I would clearly see it there with his window open. And I'm like wide open. And I'm like, I got to go up there and shut that because it's wintertime. We're like losing all the heat. The electricity bill's going to be out the yin yang. So I go up there and shut it. And, a couple days later, come home after work, and I noticed the window's open again. And I would shut it and latch it. And then I had a talk with John. I said, John, dude, you can't leave your window. I know you're probably in your room, smoking cigarettes, whatever. I don't care. I mean, it's your family's house, not mine. Do whatever you want. Just shut your window when you leave. He goes, I don't smoke in my room. I don't leave the window open. I was like, really? And then my bedroom window on the opposite, it was completely opposite end of the house, opposite gable, facing the woods. And you could see that when you're walking to the groceries and up the stairs on the opposite side. I noticed one day coming home that John's window was shut, and then I would go up there, up the other side, and I looked, and my bedroom window was open. And I'm like, that's not cool, because I don't want somebody in my bedroom opening up the window. And why the hell is that window open? And I was really freaked out because John's window was always being open. So I would shut that, and I got just like, I was like, this isn't cool. Something's weird about this place. Another thing very strange about the place is there was always, in the middle of winter, there's lots of insects and stuff. Weird kind of insects I didn't even know what they were, creeping around and like around the sink and in the bathroom. And it was gross. It was like something out of a horror movie. There was a lot of them, and I was constantly killing them. It was disgusting. Very weird. The house was clean otherwise. It was a clean place to be and everything. It wasn't bad at all. And then this one night we were having a movie night, and just some friends were hanging out at the house. Everybody's kind of getting a little bit sleepy. And all of a sudden, this big noise, thud, from upstairs comes crashing down, shakes the house, wakes everybody up. Everybody's looking at each other like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? I'm like, oh, man, what the hell was that? So I go upstairs, and I'm looking around, and the only thing I could possibly tell is like there's this big trunk, old trunk, with the leather shackles on it, with buckles on it, and that type of stuff. And this in my bedroom bed, I never opened the thing. I had a lock on it. I had like stuff on it, whatever. It looked to me like that somebody lifted that thing up about a foot or 2 feet off the ground and just dropped it on the ground. So it ended up being full of books. It was really heavy, and that's kind of the only thing I thought that noise possibly could have been. I didn't know what it was. And then anyway, we go to bed, and the next morning, I start hearing like something slamming around again. And I was like, it was coming from outside on the roof. And I thought maybe that's just snow coming off the roof. And I walked out and I walked around the roof, and it was just a little bit of powdered snow on the roof. Nothing on the roof at all. No snow to actually slide off the roof. And I'm like, okay. And then I asked my buddy John. I said, John, there's a lot of really crazy stuff happening here. This place is haunted. I don't like it. What the hell's going on? Anyway, he wouldn't really didn't tell me much about it. And then eventually he did confess that his mother had a shaman there to do something about the spirit, about demons or something in the house back in the day.
Oof.
I was like, dude, you know what? Like, blah blah blah. Like, why are you lying to me? I was a little bit pissed. Anyway, we had another little house party. Not a big deal. We're just hanging out with some friends, and I had a friend of mine coming in from out of town that I hadn't seen in a long time. And she was up there, gonna stay up there and hang out. And everybody else went to bed or left. And just me and her. And we're sitting there in the living room, just reminiscing, talking about whatever. A friend of mine I hadn't seen in a long time. We're just having a good, winding down end of the night. And Jake, son of a man. And then we have this like boom box that just all of a sudden just comes on.
Oof.
Full volume. With the song. Get this though. This is the thing that's really freaky. For some reason, I had some certain lyric of some Jay-Z song in my head that I don't even know why it was in my head. And that exact lyric part came on the 3 CD changer, exactly the same lyric, middle of the song, full volume out of that thing. Instantly. And I ran over to it and I unplugged it. And I looked at my friend Carrie. I said, we're out of here. She's like, what's happened?
Yeah, that's weird.
I said, that lyric of that song was in my head. And that thing just came on full volume. And she's like, yeah, well, something just happened. I go, no, you don't understand. This is an old 3 CD changer thing. When it's not powered on, you go to hit power. The thing goes through the whole carousel functions. It goes through. Blah, 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 blah. It takes like a minute for you to even play the radio. And then it came on in 1 second. Instantly.
Yeah, that's unnerving. That I mean, everything is unnerving, but man, that would definitely have me not just leaving for the night with the girl, but saying, sorry, dude, I got to move out. that would solve it at that point for me. Especially that's your room. That's your room, I'm guessing, that you were in.
No, we were in the back, down in the living room.
Oh, you were in the living room. Got it. Regardless, I'm out. Personally, I'm out.
No, the story just doesn't end there.
Oh boy! All right, keep it going then.
I'm like, we're out of here. I don't care where we go. I don't care if we have to sleep in my car for the night in the wintertime. I was like, we're out of here. So she's like, well, we can go down to my grandma's, and there's nobody living down there, down in town, down North Creek. We can go down there. I was like, okay, cool. That sounds great. So we get in my car, and we go down into North Creek, and we go to her grandmother's house where nobody was staying. And her grandmother was in like the old folks home. And so we go in there, and we fall asleep in the like downstairs bedroom or whatever. At about 5 o'clock in the morning, we get woken up to something that sounds like somebody pushing a heavy couch all the way across the floor and slamming it into the wall. And it shook the whole house and woke us both up. And we look at each other, we're like, what the heck's going on? And we're like, okay, whatever. We were tired. We were up late the night before. We went back to sleep. About an hour later, same sound. Boom! Shakes the whole house. Wakes us back up again. And we're like, holy cow. Like, something's going on here. I get up. I go out. Try to be like the man here. Got to do the man job and go check out what's upstairs. Didn't want to, but I did it anyway. And by now it's light out. I go walking up the stairs. I'm looking around upstairs, and there's nothing out of place. Everything is exactly perfectly how it should be. Nothing had fallen over. Everything is nice and organized and neat. There was no sign of anything out of the ordinary up there at all. It was all very tidy, and not a lot of furniture up there either. And I'm like freaked out. I'm like, okay, this is just weird. Go back down. We end up falling asleep again. And like almost exactly to the hour, it happened again. And I'm like, this isn't right. And so I'm like, this again, the same type of thing. I'm like, there must be snow falling off the roof. Same exact thing from the house I just came from. So I get up and I go outside and I'm walking around the house and I'm trying to see if there's snow falling off this roof. And the same thing, just a light dusting of powder, fresh kind of powder, real light, just here and there on the roof. Definitely nothing falling off this roof. So we go back in, and I'm like, this is crazy. But we were both exhausted. I don't care if it does it again. I'm going to try to get as much sleep as I can here until we're ready to actually get up and start our day. And I was thinking that this, whatever it was from the house in North River, had followed me down there and was like, attached to me in some way. Like this, whatever entity, demon, whatever it was that was just up in North River came down there. And I was really, really scared. And I was so scared that I couldn't function. I couldn't even think straight. I was a wreck. And I talked to my boss at Begor. I was like, I need a day or two off. She's like, wow. I go, I will talk to you about it later, but can I please have a couple days off? She said, yeah. I actually explained it to her because she's a friend too. She's close. I told her, don't say anything. I don't want anybody thinking I'm crazy. But this is what's going on, just so you know. And she was like, oh my God, that's really weird. I was like, oh, I know. Don't tell anybody. I don't want anybody to think I'm freaking nuts. And then come to find out, it was like way over a year, 2, 3 years later, I end up finding out that house has always been haunted too. Different haunting. Nothing followed me anywhere. I just happened to go from one haunted house right to another one.
Luck of the draw here in the Adirondacks.
What's happening over there in the central Adirondacks? You guys it's just built differently over there.
Yeah, and now my friend of mine lives there now, and there's all sorts of crazy stuff that still to this day goes on. He lives in that house, and he has to deal with it. It's really nuts. It's really nuts. It's uncomfortable.
Have to have him on the podcast to tell about these crazy stories over there. That's just so weird to live there. No, I mean, I can't picture you. You see it in movies, but it's like to live there knowing like, yeah, this weird stuff happens. It's like, what? I'd be out of there, but maybe
I would never be able to handle it. No way. I would never live there.
Same.
So that was the freaky weird story with a little bit of like a parody or something to it. I mean, it was the weirdest thing, James. I really thought that some evil presence was following me.
Yeah.
And it was weird. But then I never stayed the night back again at that house. And then, I ended up moving into a different place immediately. And nothing strange happened.
Good call.
Like within a couple of weeks, I was back calmed down, and I almost kind of like stopped thinking about it because there was nothing happening. No weird stuff was happening. And I just didn't know what the whole thing was about. And then like years later, when my friend moved in there, bought the house, moved in there, and they were telling me that there was ghost stories and crazy stuff coming from that property. I was like, no kidding. That's what happened. It was from one extreme house to another extremely haunted house.
Dude, that's just some bad luck that you experienced right there. That's wild stuff.
It's weird.
What can you do? Hey, at least you didn't have something following you. You do hear that. You do hear that in people's stories. And that's terrifying. I would need a couple days off from work too, if that's what I thought was going on in my world. In fact, going from one haunted house to the other would kind of feel like, a sense of relief. And then at the same time, it's like, but why am I the unluckiest person on planet Earth that night? What happened? But fascinating story.
It was really weird thing that really did happen in my life that I really experienced that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Scared me an awful lot.
All right. Well, this has been fun. Just like, chatting around the campfire here, telling some weird, odd stories from the ADK. I appreciate you guys coming on the podcast. We'll start to wrap this up here. Where can people find you online? Where can they watch your stuff? And hit us with some information where they can find you.
Well, YouTube, Blue Line Bigfoot on YouTube. And if they want to contact us, bluelinebigfoot@gmail.com.
All right, great. So we're going to have you guys on for the October sessions next year too. Now that this is the second time you've been on, we'll have to just make this a normal thing. So we'll hear next year what other odd occurrences and lots of open windows you guys find your lives happening in this next 365 days.
Here stuff we haven't got into yet, James. So good Lord willing, and the creeks don't rise. We'll see you next year, and we'll get to it.
Wait, sorry. Say that one more time. Say that again.
I said we still have about a page and a half of stuff we haven't got into yet. So good Lord willing, and the creeks don't rise, James. We'll do it again next year.
I mean, you know what? I'm going to just let it ride right now. Let's get into it because now you've piqued my interest. Jake, you piqued my interest. You got a page and a half of more spooky stuff. Let's just start talking. Let's just keep it going. I need to hear more. We're going to just keep going. Pretend it's next year. Let's just start rocking right now. Hit me with another story.
Are you serious?
If you got him, I'll take him.
I'm looking at his notes right here. He most definitely got him.
Okay, yeah. Well, let's go to the bottom of Minerva Hill.
Bottom of Minerva Hill?
Yeah, that year, and the strange. Well, we could do the strange light in the sky. Well, we'll see. Well, okay. While we're on it, we should do a one of those things that Bigfoot and other researchers do. They put a map and they put little pinpoints and blah blah blah. So the stories that we've told, the Demon House episode of where Adam was up in North River, the place I was in. Also in North River,
right down the road. But as a crow flies, it makes this kind of arrow to another place that is a historied. It's a storied haunted house. It has been a local legend haunted house, and there are a couple different the Murder House in North Creek, and there's a couple different haunted houses in North River. But this one in particular, Adam's house, my house, and this other house that was featured on an episode of Paranormal Kids, where they saw a little old lady up in the window. Anyway, it's a straight arrow, and each one of them is about a half a mile apart each. So where Adam's place was, down to my place, over to this other haunted house where our friend Greg Dornbush used to live when he was in high school, but now it's changed to owners. This is like a straight arrow of paranormal, weird, and spooky. Yeah. A lot of poltergeist stuff. All of those places. Poltergeisty stuff, yeah. Do you have any stories from the Dornbush place, Jay? From high school? Yeah. No. But there was that other place. It's kind of kitty corner to it. There's one place along the Hudson River in North Creek called the Murder House. Yeah.
Okay. The Murder House.
You should see this place.
Man, yeah, it doesn't do it justice too. But but as far as local legend goes, like why do people call it the Murder House or stuff like that? There's different stories, different local things going on. The place, the story that went along with the other North River Murder House was this is just hearsay and like kids telling tales out of school probably and trying to get people worked up. But it was a husband who killed his wife with an axe and then hung himself after the fact. And so it was like an axe murder, double suicide, murder-suicide, kind of like stuff. Within, 250 feet from this other the real haunted house. This was just the side haunted house, like, and how, geez, I mean, these places they're all around.
They're all around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really strange place. When you think about it, and the thing is, growing up around here, when you're around this type of stuff, like, all the time, it's just kind of like commonplace. You're kind of like, you never become like complacent to it, I guess. It's always weird. You don't want to be around it. But when it's happening so much, it's not like abnormal. It's kind of just like what the culture kind of is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's strange. Jake, what do you think about that bottom of Minerva Hill? I mean, there is something that kind of reflects a little bit towards Bigfoot with that too. So, James, do you know about like the phenomenon of like orbs of light related to like Bigfoot sightings and stuff?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And the correlations between orb sightings and Bigfoot sightings, absolutely.
Yeah. So this was back when I was probably like 12, 13 years old with my good friend. At the bottom of Minerva Hill, his family had a piece of property. And this is over, as the crow flies, this is kind of near where a lot of the other, some of our paranormal hotspot is over there in Irishtown. It's kind of not too far, very remote. This place where we were at, where, it's kind of not too far from the road. But if you look at it on the map, there isn't anything around besides wilderness. It's really kind of like in the middle of the woods. Me and my friend were having a nice, sleepover. When you're a kid, it's like kind of like, a big deal to be with your buddy at that age, being able to camp out at, outside of your friend's parents' house. We were down in this little flat area, maybe like 150 yards from the house. Couldn't see the house at all from where we were. Just had our own little spot there, a little campfire, and it was kind of like an exciting thing. We were playing in the woods all day, and then we were excited about it. And for it to get dark so we could hang out and camp and stuff. And anyway, we have our tent pitched. We're outside in our little chairs or whatever, with our fire and maybe toasted marshmallow or something like that. And all of a sudden, up in one of the trees, maybe a couple 100 feet away, the edge of the clearing we were in, up in a tree, maybe like 50, 60 feet, was a light that came on the top of this tree. And it looked like a white light. It wasn't yellow. It was definitely white light. And it looked like somebody had like a flashlight or something up in that tree. It wasn't moving around. It was just on. And it was kind of like shining in kind of like in our direction, but not really shining at us. It was kind of weird. It wasn't an orb looking thing. It looked like somebody had like a headlamp up in the tree. And my friend said, hey, it's probably just the neighbor boys, the Wallace brothers, found out that we were here, and they're just messing with us. So these guys are a little bit like that. I'm like, okay. I agreed to that because I had no idea. I was like, okay, cool. Sounds good to me. And we're watching this light. This light was on for probably like 5 minutes or so. And then all of a sudden, boom, just like that, it was off. And there was no noise. There was no nothing. And we're like, okay. And then the next day, daylight, we get out of the tent, and first thing both of us did is like, let's go look at that tree, see what we can see. Come to find out, there was a tree there, but it was a really tall, single trunk, skinny hardwood tree. There's no way it could have taken the weight up that high of anything remotely close to a human being, let alone anything over maybe 15 pounds from the height that it was at. Definitely a young tree, very tall young tree, very, not a wide trunk on it at all. And the top of it was real, thin and stuff like that. So we knew that there was no way a person was up in that tree. And we're like really trying to look around up in that tree. There was not a lot of branches on it at all up top. We couldn't see anything up there. We're like, what made that light? And we really kind of got freaked out because we couldn't understand what the heck made that light. And so yeah, years later, that's kind of like over near where we do some of our other Bigfoot research. Definitely real close to that, squirrel-flies. And then researching, finding out that there's like orbs and stuff related to Bigfoot. And the whole thing, I mean, it's like now looking back at that memory, I'm like thinking, that was definitely an unexplainable thing. I think it might have had something to do with Bigfoot. I don't know. I don't know what it was.
Got it. Yeah, could be. You never know, especially in that neck of the woods.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
You got, Jake?
What do we got, Jake? Anything else on your list there?
Well, not anything right jumping out.
All right. No, this has been good though. This has been good. We've got lots of fun, lighthearted and some very unnerving, spooky stories to discuss this week on the podcast.
I got one more real quick.
All right, hit me.
Oh, it just came to me. Oh no, wait. All right, now this is real quick, and it's hearsay because secondhand information, but
sure.
Now the credibility comes because it's come from a preacher man.
Okay.
All right. So I come from a big family. My grandfather was the youngest of like 10, and he had 9 kids. So family reunions are huge. So anyway, it was one of my grandfather's brothers, so a great uncle, or what is that called?
Yeah, it would be great uncle. Yep.
Anyway, so there a lot of them are, there's some Wesleyan preachers, there's a Pentecostal preacher there, so there's
Episcopalians.
I don't know if there's any Episcopalians in the but I think this is one. I think he was a Wesleyan minister. And what happened was, and I'll make this real quick, he came home early and his daughter was having this little party and they were using a Ouija board. Okay, so what happened was that didn't really square with minister, so he broke that over his kneecap and threw it into the fire, metaphorically and physically. And the story is that he sent the curse. He cursed the demon out of the blah blah blah, and so then there was a screaming, and it wasn't a hissing of wet wood. He threw it on there. He cursed it, and then. And here's where it gets weird, because it was told to me by the minister, so that carries Adam's making the sign right now, and geez Louise, and it screamed and it blew out the fire. And when I was probably 17 when I heard that, pretty near senior in high school, or one of my senior years anyway. Jeez Louise, when he told me that story, it was like a Halloween story. And
something right out of Goosebumps.
Yeah, that definitely is. And that's also, as I said, unnerving. The idea of hearing that and then the fire poofing out.
Jake, you're staying over tonight, right?
Have a good one. No, I got to get out of here.
Jake, I'm not staying here alone.
Now you guys are going to have to sleep with the lights on tonight. What's happening out there in the central ADK? Weird stuff. You could put locks on your windows. They'll still be opened in the morning, and you'll never know how.
James, we have so much more to talk about, but, we got to save it for next October.
That's great. It's exactly. We'll save it for next October. We'll have you guys back for the next October sessions, and we'll just continue to talk about spooky stuff here in the Adirondack Park. But thank you guys for coming on the podcast again. I really appreciate it. And again, everyone, check out Blue Line Bigfoot on YouTube, and they got lots of content over there. And that'll wrap us up for this episode of the October sessions here on the 46 of 46 podcast. Adam and Jake, thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
For having us.
Thanks, James.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys next year, and that'll do it. Thanks to everyone for listening to this episode of the October sessions on the 46 of 46 podcast. Remember to always leave no trace, do the rock walk, and if you carry it in, carry it out. See you on the trails, everybody.